Okay, so we're finally at the midpoint with number 6, and what better place to do thing I do every year. Well, I've only done this one other year, but we can make it a tradition, right? Something has to have a tie. So tied at number 6 this year for my list of top movies I saw in theater, well, I saw period, goes to two of my more recent watching adventures, which would be Big Hero 6 and Dumb and Dumber 2. Now, I had to debate for a while if I liked one of these better than the other, and if they would in turn bump something else off the list. And honestly, I just couldn't put one above the other. Now you may be saying, oh, what are you talking about? You know, Dumb and Dumber 2 is just a stupid comedy. Big Hero 6 was awesome because it's a comic book movie, and comic book movies rule the last decade, you know. And I understand what you're saying, but there just wasn't enough there for this movie to put it above that. Yes, Dumb and Dumber 2 was just stupid comedy, and honestly the film probably didn't need to be made. But unlike some stupid comedies that don't need to be made, it still made me laugh. It wasn't just a constant, hey, remember this joke from the first one, remember this joke from the first one, and just rehashing the same film just with older characters or younger characters. It was still a movie into its own right. It could have stood alone as Dumb and Dumber if it wasn't a sequel to the first one. And you know, it's if you know me and my sense of humor, I don't laugh at very much. And so the fact that this movie kept me laughing pretty steadily all the way through it, minus the few things that they did rehash and the poor storylining. You know, the story just really didn't make a lot of sense to me, but it kept me laughing through the whole thing, and that's why I appreciate the movie, and the fact that it made me laugh that much is why it's ranked at number 6. Now, comparing that to Big Hero 6, which is also at number 6. Big Hero 6, yes, it's a comic book movie. It's a different take than what we've been seeing because this one's an animated film. It's more targeted at children. I think the fact that it's targeted at children is kind of what hurt this one. They pulled a lot of their punches with this one, where if this had been a live-action movie, it would have been a lot more on the lines of everything we've seen, like from the Avengers camp over the last few years. But the fact that it was animated and targeted towards children, they had to pull back on a lot of stuff that they could have done with it. I feel that, in a sense, as much as I liked it being animated, it hurt the film to where it could have actually ranked a lot higher on my list, but it kind of just fell in the middle, and the things I liked and disliked about it couldn't balance out enough to weigh one way or another over what I liked and disliked about Dumb and Dumber 2. But overall, they're still both good films. I did enjoy both of them. Big Hero 6 is an awesome comic book movie, but like I said, because it's targeted at children, trying to get children into the comic book line, in case they're not already, it just had to tone down a lot of the stuff, the more dramatic moments. Like when you watch the other films, there's a lot of adult material in there, you know, a lot of emotional struggle and whatnot, and the emotional struggle that could have been in Big Hero 6 just couldn't be there because it could have the wrong repercussion towards children. So that's why Big Hero 6 and Dumb and Dumber 2 share the number 6 spot on my list of top movies I saw this year. Okay, we're at the number 5 pick. We're in the home stretch. Not too many more to go. So the number 5 position on my list this year goes to The Maze Runner. Now, again, you may be saying, wait a minute. Maze Runner, yeah, it's a good film, but above all these others? Yes, above all these others. Why? Because it's a concept that you just don't see a lot of. One, I love movies where people are stuck in situations where they're trying to figure out how to get out of. Movies like Cube, like the entire Lost series, the fact that they were stuck on the island, just things like that I like, and that's why this movie appealed to me a bit. Was it without flaws? No. And that's why it's ranked number 5. Again, it kind of had that Lord of the Flies aspect to it where everyone's like, we follow these rules here, and if you obey the rules, you won't have any problems. But at the same time, they don't tell them the rules right away, and it just kind of creates the problems. So, there's that aspect I didn't like. I don't feel we saw quite enough of the maze, but at the same time, I feel that we saw what we needed to see of it. But for a movie called Maze Runner, I thought there would just be more. Like if you look at a movie like The Labyrinth, which is about a labyrinth, she actually goes quite a few places in the labyrinth. A lot of the areas she leads into are wide open areas and not really labyrinthy areas, but at the same time, we still saw enough of that story to justify that. The one downfall that I really feel, other than those that hit the Maze Runner, was the ending. By the time they got to the ending, I sort of called what was going to go on. I knew it was going to be one of two angles. They did go with one. The one thing I did like is once they're like, yeah, here's the ending, and yep, it's what you thought it was going to be, then they did a sort of twist, but at the same time, the twist was still something you sort of expected to come. But at the same time, when you look at it, it's like, well, wait a minute, if that's the case, why didn't this happen? But it definitely set up for a sequel. I'm interested in seeing the sequel. As far as I know, it did well enough in theaters to have the sequel, just not sure when it's going to come out. But overall, yeah, it was just an overall fun watch of a movie. It had action, it had mystery, it had suspense, it had drama, it had, everything that people want out of a movie. It was there. Could it have been better? Yes. And that's why it's number 5 on my list of top movies I saw this year. Okay, the number 4 pick on my list this year, and in case you can't tell, all top 4 are going to be comic book movies, right? Well, we'll see. But at least this one is. And number 4 on my list this year goes to Guardians of the Galaxy. Why is it number 4 on my list? Well, because going into the movie, I really didn't know anything about the Guardians of the Galaxy. I knew the character of Adam Warlock, who wasn't in the movie. Well, almost wasn't in the movie. If you know the story, you understand. So I only knew him. I knew how they related to Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet, but I really didn't know them as characters or their backstory or anything like that. So I went into this one kind of fresh, not knowing anything about the characters, and they still ended up drawing me into it to where I almost want to go back and start reading Guardians of the Galaxy. But at the same time, like most comics, there's like 50 plus years of history behind certain characters, and it's just a lot to take in. Although I believe the Marvel Now branch, which is like DC's new 52 type of thing, is doing a new run of Guardians of the Galaxy, so maybe I'll jump on board that. But at the same time, I feel that's kind of copping out when what we saw in Guardians of the Galaxy, the movie, is based on that back history. So maybe I'll pick up like an Essentials book or something on Guardians of the Galaxy and kind of catch up from there and get the gist of it. But we'll see somewhere down the road. But like I said, I went into this movie not knowing anything about any of the characters or anything about it. And as I'm first watching it, I'm like, okay, this is sort of cheesy, looks a little overly cartoony. Maybe this one's targeted more at the children's, like what Big Hero 6 ended up being. That's kind of where I thought Guardians of the Galaxy was going to go. But as the movie progressed, I actually got into it. It drew me into this whole world of what was going on. As much as I don't care for Dave Bautista as an actor, keep him in the wrestling ring, he's fine, but as an actor, I wasn't really digging him as the character. But by the end of the movie, I almost just forgot that he was the character and just, didn't visualize him as Dave Bautista, the wrestler. I was just like, okay, it's just this guy doing this character. And was he the best choice for it? Probably not. They probably could have got somebody a lot better. But overall, I think he pulled out a decent enough performance to grant him a pass on this one. Obviously, everyone loves Groot. I didn't see all the appeal. Yeah, he's a fun character, but I didn't see the appeal to him that everyone else does. But then again, I don't fully understand internet memes and how they take off. So maybe Groot's not my cup of tea. but at the same time, other characters were. So, yeah, I feel like I'm running this movie into the ground while I'm trying to build it up. But overall, yeah, I went into it not knowing much about it. As I was watching it, I was expecting to be more of the cartoony, campy thing that, like I said, with Big Hero 6, but ended up being a solid action film and fit in with the rest of the Marvel Universe by the end. The whole Avengers verse that they're building up. I think it's a fitting spot. I liked the movie overall. I liked the ending. From what I know of the comics, yes, it does take some liberties from that, but what comic book movie doesn't? And it's building up to their universe. As I've always said with all comic book movie adaptations, just consider it an Elseworld tale. It's on Earth, blah, 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 X352B or whatever. It's not the main canon. And that's all you got to think of to get through these comic book movies for all you people are like, oh, that doesn't follow the book. That doesn't follow the book. You know what? Originally, no, nothing followed the book. But no, that's the only way you got to think of it to get through all this. So, overall, it was a decent film. I don't really feel I made a point about why it's number 4 other than it's number 4. And that's why Guardians of the Galaxy is number 4 on my list this year. Okay, we're down to the top 3. So what comic book movie made it to the number 3 spot on my list this year? None. The top 3 spot this year goes to The Judge. What can I say about The Judge other than it's a beautiful film? When you think of films that go on to become classics like Casablanca, Citizen Kane, things like that, they all follow this certain format. And I think The Judge falls very parallel to that, to where it could end up being a classic film of our generation some 50 years from now. Someone might be looking back like, oh, you remember that movie, The Judge? That was a beautiful film. And did it have its flaws? Yes. But at the same time, there's just nothing bad I can say about it. The few flaws that it had can be overlooked by how much this movie draws you in. You go from it. It takes a couple minutes to get it started, but once you start getting into the story of the whole thing, developing all these character backgrounds, their relationships, it has so much character development in it, and just to go through the whole thing, with these father-son moments about how they love each other, but they can't stand each other, but when the chips are down, they're still there for each other. You just can't find anything wrong with a film like this. And if you can, what's wrong with you? I mean, I'm probably one of the most hard to please people in this entire world when it comes to film. And if you can find something wrong with this film, then you're far harder to please than I ever will be. But yeah, so the main downfall with The Judge and why it only ranked in at number 3 this year, I guess would have to go towards the ending, but because it was predictable it was going to go one of 3 or 4 ways with the ending. It did go one of the ways I predicted. The thing I liked is it wasn't the first few ways I thought it would end. And another thing that I really liked is it kind of left the ending open. You kind of know that he's going to go a certain way, but at the same time, it doesn't say he went that way. It just leads you towards, okay, it looks like he's going this way, but then it leaves the open ending. And again, that's something really strong. You know what he's thinking and what he's feeling, but it doesn't have to say it. And I think that's why this one ranks so high on my list compared to things like If I Stay, where they could have left that strong open ending and had it be a much more powerful film, but in If I Stay, they decide to tell you the outcome instead of just leaving it to interpretation. And that's why The Judge ranks up at number 3, while that one was down at number 10. Not much else to say about it other than that, and that's why The Judge ranks at number 3 on my list of top movies I saw this year. Okay, we're up to the final 2. What was number 2 on my list this year? Number 2 for 2014 top movies that I saw, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, why does this rank so high on my list? Probably because I went into this movie wanting to hate it. From what I'd heard about what this film was going to be, the fact that Michael Bay was attached to it and he's raped my childhood repeatedly, I just wanted to hate everything about this movie. But as I sat through it, at first I found myself kind of nitpicking everything, like, oh, he got that right, oh, this is wrong, oh, he got that right, oh, that's wrong. But as it went on, I just couldn't see the things that were wrong with it anymore. I just saw everything that was right with it. I was like, yes, 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 no, yes, 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 no, yeah. And it does have its flaws. It is not perfect by any means, but it's probably the best reimagining of something from my childhood that's come out in a long time, not counting like the Marvelverse and whatnot. But it's the first thing that's come out of Michael Bay remaking my childhood that I've actually been able to sit through without just being in utter disgust. So much to the fact that all the things that I hated about the movie, as I got home and sat back and thought about the movie, like, it was really good up until that point. But then as I thought about it, almost everything that I didn't like about it still has a place in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles canon. Whether it's from a project that the original creators started out with and just scrapped and then incorporated parts of it into other things, there is always something in the Turtleverse that can relate back to something you saw in this film. So yes, it has its flaws, and that's why it's only at number 2. But overall, I just could not hate this movie as much as I wanted to, and maybe that's why I liked it so much. I went into it wanting to hate it, and it actually impressed me enough to where I didn't, and maybe that overly hyped it for me. But regardless of the fact, I just love this movie. It's one of 2 movies that as soon as I saw it, I wanted to go watch it again, or wanted to buy it on DVD as soon as it came out. Unfortunately, I haven't done that with this or the other film, but they're still on my list of things to buy. I'll definitely watch them again, and that's why Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ranks number 2 on my list of top movies I saw in 2014. Okay, here we are, folks. The number 1 movie that I saw in 2014, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Of course, it's going to be a comic book movie. Why not, right? Now, why did this rank above all others? Because honestly, this is just a masterpiece of a film. Everyone that's watched it raves about how great it was, and for the first time in probably my entire life, I actually agree with everyone about how good this movie was. And that's saying a lot, considering I did not like the first Captain America film. I felt it was the weakest out of the Phase 1 Avengers films. But this one made up for all of that. I just can't say anything bad about this film. Despite all the things that people nitpick about, and again, how it doesn't follow some continuity somewhere. Like I said, just pretend it's an Elseworld tale. It doesn't have to follow traditional continuity as long as it gets the basics right, which this film did. And, Captain America was a lot more awesome in this film, did a lot more stuff. Winter Soldier, obviously awesome. And, yeah, it's probably one of my favorites out of the Avengers series so far. I'm definitely looking forward. If this is where they're going with this now, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they're going to do next. And what they're going to do next in Phase 3. I can't say anything bad about this film. Again, like I said, with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at number 2, there were 2 DVDs that I planned on buying, and 2 movies that I said I would go see again in theater. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was one, Captain America was the other. Again, I still haven't got around to doing either, but when I went to Walmart the other day to go grocery shopping, I was looking at Captain America DVDs and the Ninja Turtle DVDs, and Captain America happened to be playing on the display TVs that they have for, showing the picture quality of TVs, and I almost sat down and just watched the entire movie again, but they frown if you do that. So I had to get up and walk away, and unfortunately I still didn't buy either one. Another reason I think Captain America ranks a little bit higher than Ninja Turtles is because that's the DVD I've been waiting for to come out longer, because it came out first and I still haven't bought it, and then Ninja Turtles came out and I haven't bought that, but I still haven't bought Captain America. So that anticipation of seeing it again is just overwhelming and more than what it is for Ninja Turtles. And yeah, like I said, I just can't say anything bad about this movie. Probably one of the best movies of the year, and according to my list, it is the best movie I saw this year. But again, there's a lot of stuff I didn't see this year, stuff that got pulled that probably would have made it on this list had I got a chance to see it. But overall, out of what I saw this year, which was quite a few films, considering I only started in June, yeah, this is my top 12 list for this year. So, not much more else to say. Look for the bottom 12 list coming soon. Until then, as always, thanks for watching, and have a happy new year.